The room is spare. Albert paces near the window, turning in short, restless circles. My father insists on it. Mademoiselle Danglars. I have no voice in any of it. Monte Cristo stands at the mantel and says nothing. He lets the complaint spend itself, the way a man watches a fire burn low before deciding whether to feed it. Albert talks. The Count listens. Then, without ceremony, Danglars wants the engagement broken as much as you do. Albert stops. The argument he has been building collapses at a single touch. The Count offers no sympathy, only a fact delivered flat and unhurried, and then silence. Albert's anger shifts course. Something in the room has changed. He does not yet know where the change will lead. The invitation comes easily. A box at the opera, perhaps a dinner afterward. The Count names a date with the ease of a man who has never been refused. Albert is grateful. He says so twice. The door closes. The Count does not watch it go. The warmth leaves his face like a garment set aside in private. He is already at his desk when Bertuccio appears, a man who enters only when the matter cannot wait. A woman came to the Palais this afternoon, Monsieur le Comte. She would not give her name. The Count grows still. One quiet question, a brief answer. Nothing resolves. The name remains absent. The visit remains unexplained. Outside, Paris moves through its evening. Carriages roll beneath the gas lamps. The city keeps its ordinary rhythm. Something else has begun to move beneath it, and it has nothing to do with the ball. The agent returns with two names. One comes from Rome, Abbé Busoni, a Sicilian priest who encountered the Count during his travels in the East. His account leaves no room for doubt. A man of deep faith, a benefactor of monasteries, a figure vouched for by the Church itself. I would stake my soul on his goodness. The second name comes from England. Lord Wilmore, wealthy, eccentric, and said to be incapable of sentiment. He describes a different man entirely, a cold speculator, without country, without God. Villefort sets the papers down. He has spent a lifetime reading men. He knows the texture of a manufactured story. Every witness leads to a wall, and the wall appears to have been placed there with care. The contradiction is no accident. Somewhere in Rome, behind a door never forced, a priest's robe hangs folded across a chair. Beside it rests an Englishman's coat, a pair of gloves, a ledger never opened. The man who wore them stands before a mirror, removing the last traces of each disguise. A touch of pigment along the jaw, a slight thickening at the brow. He works without haste. He is not a priest. He was never Lord Wilmore. He is the Count of Monte Cristo. He placed before Villefort two witnesses, two strangers, two contradictory portraits of the same man. He had been every one of them. Villefort knows a constructed story when he sees one. What he does not know is that the architect is watching him recognize it. The Count's satisfaction never reaches his face. It has no need to. The ballroom glitters with crystal and candlelight. Music and conversation drift beneath the chandeliers, softening private fears beneath a surface of elegance. Monte Cristo moves through it effortlessly. Danglars stands near the far wall, glass in hand, trading the small courtesies of a world he spent decades climbing toward. Then the Count appears beside him. A few quiet words pass between them. The room pays no attention. Without emphasis, Monte Cristo mentions that a certain house of credit has failed. A bankruptcy, he says. Unfortunate timing for those with exposure to certain sectors. Danglars does not move. His expression remains intact. Only the champagne glass shifts in his grip. Around them, the evening continues. Music, laughter, warm light spilling across faces untouched by the news. Danglars stands at the center of it all, alone. The table has barely been cleared when she notices. His glass is full. His plate remains untouched. She has watched him speak. She has watched him smile with perfect social ease. And through it all, he has eaten nothing. Drunk nothing. Not once. Many guests would miss it. She does not. Years have taught her how to read the small refusals hidden inside a man's habits. The conversation shifts. An opening appears. She rises and crosses to him, neither hurried nor hesitant, and takes his arm. She says she means to lead the company into the garden. His expression accepts the excuse. Gracious, correct, entirely unreadable. Still, she walks beside him toward the night, and toward the words she knows she will not be able to leave unspoken. The garden is cooler than the house, quieter. She walks beside him until the voices from the dining room fade into the distance. Then she stops at a small garden table, still carrying the remains of an afternoon meal. She takes a piece of bread, then the salt. Turning to him, she holds them out with perfectly steady hands. In the East, those who share bread and salt cannot become enemies. He looks at what she offers, then at her face. His gaze lingers on the bread a moment longer than courtesy requires. Something tightens within him. Something settles. Then it passes. He refuses, quietly, without anger. Her hands lower. The bread and salt remain between them on the table. Behind them, the house continues its evening life. Voices, laughter, the muted rhythm of a gathering untouched by this exchange. He has not touched them. She does not return to the house. She remains at the edge of the garden path, watching him as one watches a man standing on the verge of a confession. At last he speaks, quietly. Long ago, he says, in Malta, there was someone he loved. He lost her. Certain wounds do not heal. They settle into the bones and remain there. He never speaks her name. She scarcely breathes. Then a servant appears from the terrace carrying a black-edged letter. The seal is broken. He reads. Whatever had begun to emerge withdraws at once, receding behind the walls he has spent years constructing. She watches him fold the paper. Are we still friends? She asks. He turns toward her. His face is composed. Madame de Morcerf, he says, I am honored to count you among those I hold in the highest regard. She inclines her head. No tears come. She crosses the garden alone. The door closes behind her. And on the table, untouched beneath the night air, the bread and salt remain. The garden is empty now. The bread and salt still rest upon the table. The candle burns low. Whatever this night might have become, it will not become that. He chose this path. He has chosen it for years. Every measured step, every cultivated silence, every moment spent turning away instead of reaching back toward what was lost. The wound remains. He knew it would. He stands where she stood, neither planning nor remembering, simply motionless beneath the cold. The garden keeps its silence. The study on the Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré is silent except for a pen resting motionless above unfinished work. Villefort sits at his desk. The fire has burned low. The papers before him no longer hold his attention. His life has been built upon order. More precisely, upon the appearance of order. He has always understood the difference. The door opens. Monsieur de Villefort, my father collapsed on the road to Paris. He is dead. For a moment he does not look up. When he finally raises his eyes, grief is nowhere to be seen. There is only a controlled stillness turned inward. The stillness of a man accustomed to receiving disaster first as information and only later as loss. Perhaps because part of him already suspects it is something more than loss. The bedroom smells of camphor and grief. Madame de Saint-Méran lies propped against her pillows. Her face has gone pale and waxen. The journey from the south has taken something from her, and no night's rest will return it. Promise me the marriage will not be delayed. I will not leave this world without knowing Valentine is settled. No one contradicts her. Hours later, deep in the night, she wakes with a start. Her eyes lock on the table beside the bed. The carafe. The glass. "Someone was here," she says. "Someone touched it." The room is empty. The candle flame burns straight. Nothing appears disturbed, or nothing remains by the time she calls. Then, through the garden window, a sound rises from the darkness. A name, spoken softly. Valentine. It is Maximilian's voice, familiar, warm, almost startling in its ordinary human certainty against the gathering dark. Cold air drifts between the iron bars. Valentine keeps one hand on the metal, as though letting go would force a choice she is not ready to make. Maximilian does not reach for her. He speaks in the same low voice that called her name from the garden. Franz d'Épinay arrived an hour ago. The notaries are expected before midnight. Only a handful of hours remain before the contract is signed and the final door closes. She always knew the moment would come. Knowing has not made it easier. "I would rather be dead," he says, "than stand by and watch." She knows the tone, calm, measured. That is what makes the words so frightening. For a moment she says nothing, then she leans back against the iron. "If there is no other way, if everything else fails, I will go with you." There is no romance in the promise. It is the last thing she has left to give. At 20 years old, she is offering to abandon her family, her name, her grandfather, and every certainty of her life for a road beyond a gate at midnight. The garden lies in darkness. Above the terrace, a single window spills pale light into the night. Morel has not yet left. He stands where Valentine parted from him, one hand resting on the iron bars, the cold slowly working into his skin. Then voices. Two men, low and deliberate, the restrained cadence of a medical discussion. At first, he catches only fragments. He moves closer, staying beneath the window. The progression was too rapid for any natural cause. A pause. Then Villefort's voice. "You are saying, Madame de Saint-Méran was poisoned." Morel does not move. He came here consumed by a single fear. Valentine, the marriage contract, the narrowing hours before midnight. Now another thought enters the darkness. Madame de Saint-Méran died only days before the signing. For the first time that night, he considers what that might mean. The room is still. One candle burns. The old man waits in his chair. Noirtier's eyes are open. They are the only part of him that time and illness have not subdued. Morel lays out the choices. Take Valentine away tonight, or confront Franz d'Épinay before the contract is signed. He watches her spell each possibility for her grandfather, letter by letter across the board. He watches Noirtier's gaze settle, then move. No to the first, no to the second. Morel waits. His jaw tightens, but he remains silent. Then Noirtier's eyes move again, slow and precise, like words being carved into stone. Valentine follows. He says he will stop the marriage. He alone. He asks that you trust him. Morel studies the face that cannot move, then the eyes that never waver. What stands before him is not strength of body, but something harder. He trusts him. The Villefort house is draped in mourning. Black cloth hangs at every window. The courtyard stands quiet. Servants move with measured care, carrying themselves like people aware that every glance may linger on them. Saint-Méran is buried before the week has ended. Among the pews, a murmur passes, the sort of murmur that travels without needing volume. He was healthy when he left Marseille. No one replies. The words remain suspended in the cold air of the nave, while the service continues as though nothing has been said. The church empties. Carriages wait beneath a gray morning sky. Figures dressed in black drift away into separate silences. Villefort crosses to Franz d'Épinay. He speaks of contracts, of schedules, of what the family requires. He says nothing about the man lowered into the ground an hour earlier. Franz listens. He nods. The effort costs him more than he expected. The notary reads from the document in the measured cadence of a man who has witnessed many such signings. Then he reaches a clause no one at the table expected. Noirtier de Villefort, paralyzed, voiceless, able to communicate only through the slow movement of his eyes, has disinherited Valentine. The inheritance is withdrawn in full, nothing reserved, nothing spared. The pen rests in the notary's hand. The room seems to hold its breath. Villefort's expression does not change. He stares past the table. Franz looks toward Valentine. Valentine lowers her gaze to her hands, to the floor, to anything but the faces around her. No one speaks. The notary resumes in the same even voice, passing to the next clause as though nothing remarkable has occurred. Then the door opens. Barrois, Noirtier's servant, breathing hard, stands at the threshold. He does not address the room. He addresses Franz. Monsieur d'Épinay, Monsieur Noirtier asks to see you. Now. The contract remains on the table, unsigned. The corridor carries the quiet of a house that has ceased to move. Valentine leads them without a word and without haste. Her steps are steady. Her eyes never seek theirs. She walks like someone who has carried this knowledge for a long time and remained silent until the document could speak in her place. She opens the door. Noirtier is already watching the threshold when they enter. His gaze is fixed, stripped of everything except purpose. On the table beside him lies a document. The pages have been arranged with meticulous care, the work of a man who has spent years in that chair preparing what he could never say aloud. The pages are not long. Franz reads them once, then again, more slowly. His father died in 1815, not from illness, not in battle. He died in a duel arranged by men who needed his silence more than his life. The challenge came from a Bonapartist. The meeting was engineered. The letter that framed it as a matter of honor concealed a killing already decided. His father had sought no quarrel and been given no choice. Franz lowers the document. For a moment, nothing. He has known his father as a memory, as an absence, as the outline of a man lost before Franz was old enough to understand why. Now that outline is beginning to take shape. His eyes lift to Noirtier. The old man's gaze has not left him since he entered the room. The man who called him out, Franz says. I need his name. Give me the name. Noirtier's eyes remain steady. Then his hand begins to move. The alphabet falls from Valentine's lips in the order she has spoken it 100 times before. A. Noirtier does not move. B. Nothing. C. Nothing. The letters pass one by one until M. A blink. Slow. Deliberate. Valentine marks the page. Y. A pause. A blink. S. E. 4 letters. Enough for dread to take shape. L. Valentine's hand slows. F. She sets the pen down. 6 letters, written in her own hand. Myself. Franz looks at the word. He asked for the name of the man who killed his father, the man who forced the challenge, the man who dressed murder in the language of honor, the man who faced his father in 1815 and left him dead. Noirtier has given the answer himself. Not a stranger, not a forgotten conspirator. This man, this chair, this room. The father of the woman Franz was meant to marry. Noirtier's eyes remain open. They do not waver. Valentine looks from her grandfather to Franz. Understanding has not reached her yet. It is coming. There is no engagement beyond this moment, no future that survives the word on the page. The ceremony, the contract, the years that led toward this union, all of it stands upon the grave of the man it claimed to honor. The word remains where she wrote it. The room absorbs what Franz has read. He does not argue. He does not ask again. Nothing in this house can offer a different answer. He leaves. The door closes on the engagement, on the ceremony, on the life Valentine had been expected to accept. It closes on the months spent guiding 2 families toward a future that no longer exists. It closes on everything except the paper on the table and the old man in his chair, his gaze unchanged. Valentine does not weep. She sits amid the ruins of her relief and cannot name what she feels. The grief of losing what she never wanted, and the grief of discovering what that freedom cost. The room is still. It will not remain still for long.